The story begins with Cockney gambler Jake Green being finally free after 7 years in prison. 2 years later, he and his brother Billy go to a casino owned by crime boss Dorothy Matcha to get money he is owed. Matcha, ignoring his bodyguard Paul's advice, allows Jake to join his private game. On the way up, Jake, who is claustrophobic, hesitates but takes the elevator, fighting a panic attack. Jake intentionally loses his first bet on a chip toss to manipulate Matcha. When they bet again, Jake wins, taking a bag full of cash. As they leave, a man named Zach stops them and warns them of danger, offering his help. He gives Jake a card that says, "Take the elevator." This time, Jake decides to take the stairs but passes out, falling down as the card is revealed. Jake is rushed to the hospital while Matcha, worried about Jake's revenge after 7 years in jail, orders Paul to hire the best hitman, Sorter, to kill him. At the hospital, doctors find no immediate cause for the blackout and send Jake home. Billy goes to his own house while Jake takes bodyguards for protection. When he arrives home, the bodyguards are shot. Jake finds a card that says, "Pick this up," on the floor, and bending over to get it saves him from being shot. He tries to escape in his car, but the driver is shot. Zach arrives just in time to save him. Sorter can't understand how he missed, as he never misses. He tells Matcha he had a bad feeling. Meanwhile, Zach takes Jake to meet his partner Avi, who has gotten a hold of Jake's medical file. The results are in. Jake has a rare blood disease that will kill him in 3 days. Zach and Avi offer Jake their protection in exchange for his money and his complete obedience. They give him 3 hours to decide, but Jake leaves, convinced they are trying to trick him. His private doctor confirms the same prognosis, and after threatening him to make sure he isn't also paid off, Jake accepts the deal. As they go for a ride, Avi explains they are loan sharks and will be loaning out Jake's money. After dropping off money for their first client, Avi demands to know Jake's history with Matcha. Matcha used to have 3 stupid men working for him called the 3 Eddies. They lost their card man before a big game and called Jake to replace him, threatening Billy's family if he refused. During the game, men at the table insulted Jake's mother, causing him to start a gunfight. The power went off, the money disappeared, and Jake was questioned by the police. To keep him from talking, they threatened his niece and accidentally killed his sister-in-law when she tried to protect her daughter. Jake didn't tell the police that Matcha organized the games and was sent to jail for 7 years. While he was in jail, the 3 Eddies upset Matcha and he used them as concrete. After visiting more clients, Zach sends Jake to a motel. Matcha and Paul visit crime kingpin Sam Gold, who never receives visitors. Instead, they meet his advisor Lily Walker, who agrees to a powder deal. She reminds Matcha that Gold doesn't like publicity and doesn't give second chances. Later, Jake gives Zach and Avi more money. While playing chess with Avi, Jake tells him about his time in jail. He chose 7 years of solitary confinement over 14 years of normal time. His cell was between a chess master and a conman who communicated through messages in library books. They taught Jake a formula to win any game. The 2 men were planning a prison break and promised to take Jake with them but left him behind. 2 years later, Jake was released and found the 2 men had taken all his money, leaving a note that said, "You can only get smarter by playing a smarter opponent." Jake started using the formula at casinos to become rich. As the days pass, Jake continues working, giving away his money. He is also supposed to threaten clients who don't pay, but he can't bring himself to hurt innocent, desperate people. Meanwhile, Avi and Zach steal the powder Matcha promised Lily. When Matcha finds out, he sends Paul to solve the problem. Paul goes to see their rival, Triad Kingpin Lord John, who agrees to provide the powder for an overinflated price. Jake, Zach, Avi, and their team go to the hotel where the exchange will happen. They sneak into a room next to the thugs to inject sleeping gas, then steal the money and the powder, framing both Matcha and Lord John. Later, Billy calls Jake, telling him that Zach and Avi are so dangerous that not even Gold would touch them and Jake should get out. Jake doesn't listen and goes back to work, where he is expected to shoot a scared client. He refuses and tries to shoot Avi, but realizes the gun is empty right before Avi knocks him out. Jake wakes up at the motel and gets a call from Avi, who says he survived his 3rd day so he should get a checkup. After being visited by his niece and Billy, who leaves him a gun, Jake sees his doctor, who confirms the diagnosis was wrong and Jake is fine. He tries to call Avi for answers, but Avi says he'll have to wait. Paul gathers information, and Jake's name comes up as being involved in all their problems, so Matcha orders him to be killed. When Jake returns to the motel, Avi and Zach are waiting for him and warn him that Matcha's thugs are inside the room. Jake runs away and loses them, especially when one of the thugs slips and shoots himself by accident. The other criminals find the body and think Jake did it. Jake goes to Avi and Zach's office, where they confess they knew Jake didn't tell them the whole truth about the deal with the Eddies. The three clowns had been waiting for Jake when he got out of prison to kill him. To save his life, he offered them a deal, 3% of any money he would lend them. Jake was using each Eddie's money to pay another Eddie, so he wasn't losing anything. They eventually borrowed from Macha, who became interested in the mysterious moneymaker man. After making himself rich with the formula, Jake took a vacation, and that's when Macha killed the Eddies. Macha is having dinner when he's told Jake escaped. Sorter recognizes Lord John's lover pretending to be a waitress and shoots her. His aim is off and he only hurts her, so before dying the woman shoots Macha's finger off. Then Sorter is sent to Lord John's hideout to kill him and his men. Back to Jake, he's still chatting with Zach and Avi while they play golf on a roof. They explain that gold doesn't exist. He's just a representation of ego and greed, and he only has power over those who invest in him. Jake needs to change the rules of what he allows to control him. Afterward, Jake takes the rest of his money from the bank and donates it all before sneaking into Macha's bedroom. While fighting with the voices in his head that represent his ego, Jake apologizes to Macha, accepts him as the superior crime lord, and tells him he made a donation in his name before leaving. To confront his fears, Jake takes the elevator. He gets stuck on the 13th floor. While fighting a panic attack, he has a conversation in his mind in which he rejects his ego, finally stepping out of the game as a free man. Once the elevator begins working, he reaches the ground floor and finds Macha waiting with a gun, driven crazy by his own ego. Jake is at peace and walks past him. This drives Macha mad, who can't understand why someone wouldn't fear him. He begins crying, understanding how humiliated he's been. The next morning, Paul brings Macha newspapers with his name on them for the donation. Macha is happy to take the credit, but his happiness is short-lived. Paul informs him that Jake has the powder and has been playing them all along. Paul, Sorter, and Macha's henchmen visit Billy, who manages to hide his daughter in the cupboard. The men begin torturing him, not believing when he says he doesn't know where Jake and the powder are. Paul's methods escalate, and Sorter begins to feel uncomfortable, especially when they hear the girl sob and make her come out. Refusing to hurt a child, Sorter rejects his ego and begins killing his fellow henchmen, but he makes a mistake and gets killed too. Meanwhile, Macha is visited by Lily. She brings him a wreath from gold and informs him that his time is over. This sends him into another panic. Avi and Zach take Jake and the powder to Macha's casino, where Avi finally beats Jake at chess while confessing the final details. He and Zach had been the men in the cells next to Jake's. They always wanted to take him away with them, but he wasn't ready to accept the truth, implying that they were figments of Jake's imagination. At that moment, the casino's bodyguards take Jake to see Macha, who has Jake's niece with him. Jake drops the bags of powder on the floor and tells his niece everything will be fine. Macha goes mad because Jake is still showing no fear even when he's pointing his gun at the child. Humiliation causes the ego voices in Macha's mind to conclude that Jake can't hurt a dead man, so he puts the gun against his head and shoots. And that's where the story ends. Revolver isn't just a crime thriller, it's a psychological game that reminds us our greatest enemy often hides within ourselves. Ego, greed, and pride can be deadlier than any rival, and true victory only comes when we learn to master our own mind. I'd give Revolver, 2005, a 7 out of 10. While its style and non-linear storytelling may confuse some viewers, it's a bold and thought-provoking film that blends crime drama with philosophical depth. Guy Ritchie's direction is ambitious and Jason Statham's performance adds intensity, but it's definitely a movie that divides audiences. You'll either love its complexity or find it frustrating. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video for more gripping movie recaps.